When you think of prison, you probably imagine prison cells, guards, and locked gates. But deep inside California's prison system, there's a place even more extreme. The SHU, the SHU, the Security Housing Unit. It's a lonely world of concrete and steel where inmates are locked up 22 to 24 hours a day, cut off from human contact. Some have even spent decades in this security housing unit. Officials are saying it's for control, it's for security, and the inmates and other people, other advocates, are saying it's psychological torture. So today, I'm pulling the curtain back on one of California's prison system's most controversial subjects, security housing unit. Alright, so before we get started, if you guys want to do me a solid and hit the like button, maybe drop a comment, maybe subscribe if you haven't done it already, and it will help me out a lot, okay? So the security housing unit, to understand what that is, we have to understand what ADSEG is. ADSEG is administrative segregation, also known lovingly by the inmates as the hole, okay? So you go to the hole when you get in trouble, basically. If you're under investigation for a serious crime or serious rule violation, you basically get put in the hole until the outcome of that matter is settled. So ADSEG is basically a prison within the prison. It's literally like going to jail. You get handcuffed and arrested, taken to a dummy cage, stripped out, and you eventually they take all your personal belongings and clothes and everything, and they give you a little ADSEG outfit, which is like white coveralls, and then they put you in a cell with nothing. So the SHU is basically an extended stay ADSEG. So while every prison has its own ADSEG, if you get put into the SHU and do a SHU term, you're going to go to a specific facility that has its own SHU there, like Corcoran, Tehachapi, and Pelican Bay. So the SHU, like I said, it's long-term ADSEG, and it could be a determinate or indeterminate amount of time. So you could get a SHU term of 1 year or 2 years, and you literally have to go to the SHU for 1 or 2 years. You can also go for an indeterminate amount of time, and that's what they did with all the validated gang members, like the Aryan Brotherhood, the Mexican mafia, Black Guerrilla Family, Nuestra Familia. All those guys were rounded up and stuck in the SHU for the past 30 years. 30 years. So I'm going to start to describe what life is like in the SHU, and you're going to just see how terrible of an existence this really is. So here's a cell at Pelican Bay SHU. That's where you stay for 22 to 24 hours a day. You may or may not have a cellie. But on top of that, you're restricted on virtually everything, even your mail. You're not allowed to even get mail. The mail comes to you via a projector that the police bring to your cell and project images. They basically project your letters or anything that was sent to you in the mail. You don't actually physically get it. The guards will bring a projector slider to your door and then basically put on a slideshow of your mail. And that's how you read your mail. You don't actually physically get to hold your letters. So anytime anybody sends you anything in the mail, you get to read it like a one-time only, and then they take it away. Okay? Your canteen, they'll bring it to your cell, and then they open up everything and then dump it into approved garbage bags, like big old garbage bags. So you get a bag of chips, they rip it open and dump it in a garbage bag. You get a jar of coffee, they open it up and dump it into a garbage bag. And that's how you get your canteen. Lovely, isn't it? And here's inside of the housing unit. As you can see, every pod is not very big. There's only a few cells to each pod, and it's you and whatever guys are in that pod with you, and that's the only contact you have with other people. Now, I want you to notice something. Notice from the inmates' perspectives in their cells. Looking out of their cells, all they see is a wall. See that wall in front of them? That's all they get to see for day in, day out for years. They don't see trees, they don't see landscapes, grass, plants, birds, none of that. They don't even see the sunshine. That's the extent of their life, is living in that small little area. The only time you leave your cell is if you're lucky, you'll get a recreation yard maybe once or twice, maybe 3 times a week for an hour or two, and that's it. Everything else comes to your door. A medical comes to your door, your correctional counselor comes to your door. You are locked in that cell. The only time you come out is for rec yard and then for showers, which you get maybe, again, once every couple days. Now, when it's time for you to exit your cell, the guards will come up to your cell and you have to strip out in front of them and do all that, okay? Then your cellie, if you have a cellie, has to get against the wall and face the wall while you put your hands behind your back and then walk backwards towards the front of the cell. At that point, the guard will open up the tray slot and you have to kind of like bend down and with your hands behind your back and then stick your hands out of that tray slot while the officer handcuffs you. And only then will he open that cell door. And then when he opens the cell door, you know, he'll grab you by the arm and then you'll step out. They'll do the same thing with your cellie and they will walk you to the rec yard or the shower or whatever. So this is an inmate getting ready to go somewhere, yard probably, and it's just like this. You got to put your hands out that tray slot and get cuffed up before you walk out. Then they literally escort you with 2 officers with batons drawn while you're shackled and walked to wherever you're going. And here is your yard. This is the one at Pelican Bay. It's completely enclosed by concrete, and you get 1, maybe 2 hours in there by yourself or with your cellie, and that is it. That is the extent of your day. It's going to this little concrete box for your quote-unquote yard. There's not even any sunlight. The rec yard at Corcoran Shoe, at least it's outside, but they put you in these dog kennel cages just like this, and you get an hour or 2 in there. But at least it's outside. But look how dehumanizing that is. And that's the extent of your day, folks. You get to go out here to this dog kennel and exercise, breathe some fresh air, you know, and then you're back to the cell. Day in, day out for 30 years. And then it's back to your cell, and that's it. That's it. So just imagine that is your life. That is your entire life. You cannot even hold a letter from your wife or your kid or your brother, mother. You can't even hold a letter from them. It gets beamed by a projector onto the wall for 10 minutes and then you're done. It is, so is that cruel and unusual punishment? Let me know what you think in the comments. A lot of those guys that were in there for 20, 30 years, they actually won a lawsuit and they are slowly, gradually getting out of the shoe and getting put back at mainline institutions. So they're a little victory there. So that's going to do it, guys. Hope you guys find that interesting. Hope I covered everything. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.